Hi everyone, Annette Kessler here with a new video tutorial, and today I'm going to show you a really neat way to make handwritten letters, doodles and such. So I'm starting with a white page and I'm simply creating a frame. This is just a simple doodling frame with curved lines, not something really complicated. Just take your pen, your black pen, your permanent black pen, and just doodle around the page. You can do this for your art journal. You can practice this technique for cards, scrapbooking pages, Bible journaling, just a planner, whatever you like. You can even make a really nice creation and frame it on the wall with a beautiful quote. So I'm just going around the frame, going over some lines, coloring some of the parts. You can see how it looks here, adding some lines. Camera is a little bit shaky today, I'm sorry. Then I'm going to take a brush with some watercolor paper to create my background. I want to do the lettering on a background, on a colorful background, and I want to do it instead of coloring the page after I do the lettering. I want to first start with making the background. So I also spritz the paper a little bit because I am using watercolors, so I want my watercolors to flow really smoothly. And I'm just mixing some of the colors directly on my page, blues and greens and such. I like this color combination. Okay, so once that's completely dry, we can go ahead and I can show you the trick for making the letters. So when we make handwritten letters, we want them to have a dimension or some kind of addition, so they will look really nice. So what I've done is I've taken two pencils, aligned them together so they'll be the exact same length, and then tied them with some masking tape. So what will basically happen is when I write, I'll have two lines instead of one because I'm using two pencils. So this is a really neat trick to make a 3D letter like this. It might take a little bit of practice, so you just might want to do that just on a piece of scrap paper just to see how you work with this technique. And I'm going to try different angles, different designs of letter. So the top one was large letters and then handwritten letters. So you have caps and you can just play with it and see where the lines take you. But you can see that you have two lines for each letter, and that is really cool. So now what I'm going to do is take a black permanent marker and go over the lines, and then I'll have instant 3D letters without trying to calculate where the lines should go. Sometimes it's really difficult to know the angles of these things if you want to add more dimension to your letters. And by using those two pencils trick, it solves your problem. So then you can have really cool handwritten letters. And then I'm just going to color in between those lines that I did with the pencil. I think it looks really cool. And if you have places like on the E that are not clear, then just go back to the angles on the other letters and then complete the line. Of course, it's really hard to do with smaller letters because the space between the two pencils actually dictates how large your letter will be. If you try to write small letters with that, it will not work so well. But after you master the idea behind it, you can just use one pencil and then create the second line yourself. This is just a trick to start and practice, so you'll get the angles right. Now that I have my letters written, I just want to start embellishing them a little bit. And this is where the doodling comes in. So you can doodle with a black pen, add another line, add some swirls, some letters, not letters, I'm sorry, some swirls, doodles, dots, curved lines, etc. that come out of the letters or surround them. So I'm making little hearts here on the word love. Inside the O, a little swirl, and you can just use your imagination to add details to each of the letters, and that will liven up the entire thing. So I'm adding some embellishments, little drawings, little doodles of embellishments to the letters themselves. It adds texture, it adds interest. And again, if you're not comfortable doing it directly with a pen, you can go ahead and do that with a pencil, and then if you don't like it, just erase it and start over. And then after you're happy, go over everything that you added with your pen. And work with different sizes of tips. You can work with smaller or larger tips, and that will give you different line thicknesses. You can make them bold, bolder, or less bold, and then that will also add to the interest that you add around each of the letters. So now I'm just adding some swirls and then introduce a new color. So I like to work with white, and then the white dots, lines, and other details can go on the black, and that will look really pretty. So again, adding some lines, some arches, some dots, some sections that are colored. You can simply add whatever details that you want on each of the letters. So I'm adding little hearts on the letter itself opposite the black little hearts. These ones are white. Adding swirls on the letter itself. Of course, you don't have to work with white. You can use other colors if you want. It's up to you what color scheme you want to do. Just add some lines. That enriches each of the letters, and that the lettering becomes the art as well. Okay, so I'm just going to add a few more details, and then I think I want to add a little bit more color to the background. So remember, we used a permanent pen. All the pens that we used here need to be permanent because you can always add things later if your pens are permanent. For example, I want to add a little bit of color with some more watercolors, and if my pens were not permanent, everything would smear completely. But since they're permanent, I'm not afraid to add a little bit more color here. So I'm just going to add some purples. I think they Again, you can add any type of embellishments that you want at this point. You can add stickers, you can add stenciling, stamping. Again, use permanent inks or permanent markers or whatever material you use. Try to make it permanent. You can also do this with acrylic paints if you want. I'm just coloring between the letters and adding a little bit more color that will really blend with the blues and the greens that are already there. And watercolor really blends well, so of course the watercolor is not permanent, so it reacts with the previous layer of watercolors that is there, and that's why I can add it later and it will blend really pretty when it's dry. I think it looks really cool. And of course you can use whatever text you want for your project. It can be a quote, it can be lyrics, it can be a verse from the Bible, it can be whatever you want to add, or even just to practice. So please don't forget to subscribe to my channel and click on the little bell icon to be notified when I upload a new video so you won't miss anything, and you'll be able to follow all the tutorials and make all the projects and learn some new techniques like this one. I really like doodling, so for me doodling letters is part of the doodling process, and this is just a way to teach you how to add your handwriting to your projects, whether they'll be art journal pages, cards, planner, mixed media projects, scrapbooking pages, anything. So I'm also adding a little bit of paint to the doodling in the frame just to tie everything together. And I think it looks really pretty. I'm turning the page because I have a tendency to smear everything, so I just want to make sure that I don't do don't do it this time. Make sure that I work outside of the frame and not on the frame. Let's add a little bit of color here as well. And I think I can almost call it finished. So I really hope you like this tutorial and that you give this technique a chance. This trick with the two pencils is really fun and easy. Just try it. So thank you very much for joining me, and I will see you next time.